85 million casualties versus 16 million. World War II was the most disastrous conflict ever waged on Earth, but why was it many times more deadly than the previous World War? To understand the scale of loss, look at where the fighting happened and how it was fought. World War I was Europe's Great War in all but name. The major European powers dragged their colonies in, yet the costliest battles stayed largely on the continent. It was brutal and static, and if you were a British soldier, you had about an 11% chance of never coming home. Artillery ruled the battlefield, and while civilians suffered, much of the dying came from starvation and disease rather than direct attack. Then the Second World War arrived, and the map of destruction exploded. Africa became a battleground as Axis forces pushed to cut Allied access to Middle Eastern and African oil, leaving rusted hulks across the desert. More importantly, Japan joined the war with an empire-building mission across the Pacific. Resource poor and bound by Western trade, Japan invaded China and eyed European colonies for food, rubber, and oil. The United States, a maritime power balancing the Atlantic and the Pacific, saw its Pacific strategy threatened. In December 1941, Japan struck Pearl Harbor and invaded the Philippines, making World War II truly global. In the Pacific alone, an estimated 25 million casualties followed, with only 6 million combatants and a staggering 19 million civilians. Most of those civilians were Chinese, with between 7 and 8 million killed through mass slaughters, indiscriminate bombardment, and the ravages of war, including an estimated 200,000 civilians killed in 6 weeks at Nanjing. Technology turned this global war into a machine for killing. In World War I, airplanes were scouts with pistols and grenades thrown from open cockpits. By World War II, aircraft carried thousands of pounds of bombs across hundreds or thousands of miles. Hitler's blitzkrieg married fighters and bombers to smash defenses, while Imperial Japan showed carriers could project devastating air power. Strategic bombing shifted the battlefield to cities. In World War II, nations deliberately targeted civilians to cripple economies and morale. Incendiaries fueled firestorms designed to raze urban centers. Dresden endured 3,900 tons of high explosives and incendiaries in just 3 days, leaving a concrete skeleton and 25,000 civilians dead. In Japan, the strategic bombing campaign escalated in 1944. B-29s flew too high for effective defenses, and as major industrial centers were shattered, production dispersed into homes and workshops across cities. With wooden construction and weak civil defense, incendiary raids sparked citywide infernos that killed on a scale that dwarfed the later atomic bombs in total casualties. About halfway through watching this, ask yourself, what single factor do you think most transformed war into a civilian catastrophe? Global geography, strategic bombing, or ideological mass murder? Drop a thoughtful comment and tell us why. On the ground, speed killed. Mechanized warfare married tanks to mobile infantry, spreading conflict across vast territories and putting civilians directly in the path. Nowhere was this more devastating than the Eastern Front. In World War I, Russia exited early without a German invasion. In World War II, the invasion of the Soviet Union opened a colossal theater, producing about 40 million dead, roughly 4 times the Russian death toll of World War I. That staggering number was driven not only by combat, but by ideology. Hitler's vision of a pure Europe industrialized mass murder. Between 5 and 6 million Jews were exterminated through ghettos, slave labor, and death camps. As the Wehrmacht surged east, 5.7 million Soviet civilians were put to death, many gunned down into mass pits, and 2.8 to 3.3 million Soviet POWs were killed. Poland saw up to 3 million citizens murdered. As many as 600,000 Serbs, 500,000 Romani, 25,000 Slovenes, and 3,500 Spanish Republicans were exterminated. The Nazis also killed approximately 270,000 disabled people, up to 200,000 Freemasons, up to 5,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, and as many as 25,000 homosexuals. For the first time in history, humanity industrialized mass murder, and only Germany's later shortages of materials and manpower prevented those numbers from soaring even higher. If you want more intense, fact-driven history, hit subscribe and join the journey. In World War II, the war did not just happen on front lines, it consumed entire societies. The question remains, when war targets the very fabric of civilian life, does it change what war is forever?